If you could describe radical acceptance in one word, phrase, or mantra, what would it be?
Accepting the fact that I am Black, that I am a woman, that I am queer. Spinning it in my mind that it is this beautiful coat of armor that I wear. And that's how I step into spaces. And that has allowed me this radical acceptance of who I am. And loving that and not wanting any of that to change, ever.
Hi, love. Welcome to Queerify, formerly known as Quest, a journey to wellness, where we help demystify wellness for queer people of color. Because right now, we need that, y'all. If you didn't know, my name is V, aka Love Nest Monster. I'm a two-spirit human, joy influencer, and all pronouns accepted. Today, we have a very special episode because this episode is releasing on Election Day. And, we just wanted to give y'all a little bit of hope, since at this very moment, we have no idea which way this election is going to go. But I felt really inclined to give y'all this message and remind you that through all of this, I'm going to say it, crazy bullshit, we as a community have a unity like no other that I have not been alive to see. And it's beautiful. So no matter what happens with this election, y'all, let's stick in this unity with community, because that's going to be our saving grace, y'all. For anyone that, doesn't have a community close, we are also adding some resources in the show notes to just kind of help you navigate any uncertainty that you might be going through. So just check out the show notes. We've got some lovely beacons of hope that we've had on this podcast that we will be sharing you their books that might be able to help you out. We've got Juju Bay and Bex Moy, and there's so many more. Also, today's episode, we thought the perfect person to join us on this episode would be someone that really encompasses resilience throughout their whole life. She's an immigrant from Africa, a child of war, a community leader who's creating spaces and experiences for queer folks to heal and to grow. Without further ado, here is our guest, Yinka Freeman, she, her. Enjoy, and I hope this episode brings you hope and a bright light at the end of that tunnel.
My name is Yinka Freeman. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am an event producer. I own a company that is an event production company that produces events all across the country. I am also the CEO of No Other Festival. A fun fact about me is that I speak 3 languages, and you're probably going to ask me which ones they are. So English, Creole is what we speak in Sierra Leone, which is where I'm from, and French.
I love that. All the languages. Triple Pocket Events. Where did you come with a name for that?
So Triple Pocket is a type of napkin fold. It's the one where, you have the 3 pockets. It goes knife, fork, spoon, or however you want to put it. But yeah, the reason I called it Triple Pocket, though, is because I got my start in the world of hospitality and events by starting as a server. Lied on my resume. I'd never served before in my entire life. And you could totally tell. I was so bad, but I had personality and people really liked me. And so I just and I loved serving. I really loved that industry. And so I just got better and better and better. So when I decided to start an events company, I wanted to take a nod back to 20-something-year-old Yinka who would forget waters and bread and all that thing to now having a whole event company.
That's so special. So let's tell everyone how we know each other, because I think it's a beautiful story.
Yeah, it is a really, really great story. Before you tell me your side of the story, V, let me tell you about what that queer festival was. So we were all at this queer wellness festival a couple of years ago, and it is all about community and queer joy and queer wellness and educating ourselves within our community.
Is this festival only in California?
We are. So yeah, we are in California right now. We are in Northern California.
Nice. Yeah, I remember the first one was Yosemite, and it was my first time at Yosemite. It was awesome.
Good.
Yeah. And so back to the story, you had brought Melissa into our group, and for y'all that have been listening from the beginning, we've had Melissa on the podcast with their child. So if you don't remember, go back, have a listen. They're super awesome. So I remember you introducing us to Melissa, and you're like, hey, this person came to this big festival all alone. Would you mind, if she tagged along with your group? And we were like, yeah, heck yeah. And so serendipitous that she happened to have been camping right next to our campsite. So it was like so perfect. And we ended up vibing so well throughout that whole weekend, and had her on the podcast a couple times. And, she was finding her queerness, and it was just so beautiful, because when it fast forward to post festival, she had shared with us like how much it meant to her, and that she found herself, and that basically like introducing us all and having this whole festival kind of like saved her life. And she's so happy and transformative, and the bond with her children is so much tighter, and just, it changed her life. So thank you for putting her with this group and with us and hanging out with us, because she's such a beautiful human, and y'all go get to know her.
She is. She's a wonderful person, and it is very serendipitous, because I literally just went up to you all and I was like, hey, this person's here. The new community. Can she be a part of your micro community that is a part of this larger queer community that we are in? And it just really worked out. And I saw them at last year's festival, and they were there with their daughter, which was, oh my gosh, I sobbed like a little baby when I saw them. And then they introduced me to their daughter. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that was so magical to see like two generations joining this festival, and it just goes to show like how powerful and how moving that this festival can be. It's healing generations. Yeah.
Healing generations. I'm going to steal that as our tagline.
Take it. Well, enough about the festival and how we've met. I want to get to know you a little bit more, and I want to take it back to childhood, and I want to know, how was childhood for you? Where did you grow up? And don't spare any details.
Okay. So for the longest time, when people would ask me about my background and where I grew up, I used to say I was a child of the world. I just I grew up in the world, Earth. And that's really because of my actual true background. So I was born in Sierra Leone, which is in West Africa. It's a very small country in West Africa. And I lived there until I was about 8.5. And then my family moved to the US. So we moved to Minnesota, and I lived there for about 5 years. and then we moved to Ethiopia, and then we moved to Kenya. So a lot of my middle school and my high school years were split between Ethiopia and Kenya. And then I moved back to the US. I moved to Illinois, to a small little college town called Galesburg. And that's where I went to college. And in between my college years, I lived in France for about a year and a half as well. So I grew up really traveling and living not in just different countries, but in different continents.
Wow. And now you're just US living?
Yes. Now I live in San Diego, and then I take my little trips to different countries to just kind of I have the travel bug. It will never leave me. I've grown up with it, so I will always be traveling. Always.
Oh yeah. I think traveling really forms a human.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It forms you. It makes your worldview so much more open and accepting. And you bring it back. For me, at least, I noticed, especially the older that I've gotten and the more my friend group has shrank, I have noticed that I don't know that I have one friend in my life that is from the same state, the same city. My friend group everyone is from everywhere. And I 100% believe that is because I grew up the way I grew up, living in all these different countries. Everywhere I lived, I went to an international school. Wow. So all my friends, all my classmates were from all different parts of the world, some places that I had never even heard of before.
That's amazing. So would you say that when you came from Africa to the US and then back to Africa, was there any culture shock for you?
Oh, huge culture shocks. Huge. I still suffer culture shocks to this day. And it's really funny, actually, when that happens, because a lot of my friends, they really consider me American or Americanized, right? So there will be certain things, especially when it comes to, I find, pop culture. Sometimes there will be certain things or certain shows that I just have no idea about. And I'm like, wait, when was that? And I'll start asking people for the years. Like, what years were those? And the minute they say it, I'm like, got it. I was in Kenya. That's why I don't understand what's going on. But yeah, there was huge culture shocks, right? Initially moving to Minnesota was a ginormous culture shock. Like, first of all, seeing so many white people in one space, huge culture shock. Culture shock. No, the weather, the food was so different. But as I got older and my family would travel to the US or other countries for vacation, things like that. But especially when we moved to the US, every summer was a mini culture shock for me. Every time we came here, it was just things were so different. The way people act, the way people interacted with me, the food that we ate while we were here was so different. So you get that culture shock for about 3 months, and then you move back home to where you are, and everything for maybe a week seems very, very strange. And then you get back into the life, and then a couple of months later, you do it again because it's summer vacation. So it was a consistent high and low of just going into these different cultures. But now thinking about it, it has made me such a well-rounded adult because I had to deal with that back and forth so much. And I feel like it's just prepped me to be able to deal with people's different personalities, different backgrounds, how they see the world. It's really helped me kind of slow down a little bit and actually take the time to hear somebody's thoughts and why they think that way and why their background is affecting it before I just react to something.
How would you say that people received you coming into their culture?
Ooh, well, I have two sets of answers for that question. The first is my the way people receive me when I am not in the US, just when I've gone to different countries, really, really openly, really, really well accepted, because that, I think what a lot of people don't understand is other countries other people's cultures are very much appreciated and welcomed. It's not like, this is your new culture. No, it's very much welcome. And how do we bring your culture into our culture as a whole? What I find with the US is that's a little bit harder to do, which I find really shocking and surprising at times, because the history of the US it is a blending of cultures. It is a mixture of everyone that kind of stepped foot into the country. But I think it's not as accepting or easily accepted. It takes a little bit more time. So it's always a shock to me, even now, when people receive me in a different way once they find out I wasn't born here, that I'm an immigrant. It's just really, really interesting, and having to navigate that as an adult is also very, very interesting. Having to deal with blatant, like in your face racism is still something that's very shocking to me. And I'm usually like, whoa, I'm Black. Got it. That makes sense. That's why this is happening. But it's always a shock. It's always like my brain is like, what's happening here? Why is this person interacting with you in this way? And it almost always takes me a minute to process. It's because of your skin color. Literally, the only reason is because of your skin color. And that's always a shock to me. Always a shock to me. And then I have to take a second to process, because I'm Black. Okay, now how do I react to this person, knowing that the only reason they are having this kind of interaction with me is because of my skin color?
How do you navigate that?
It's been a lot of practice. I've done a lot of practice. And I really try to educate the other person as to why they are having that reaction, and that the reaction is simply because my skin is a little bit darker than theirs. And for some reason, my brain always tries to say, well, prove them wrong. In whatever the interaction is, my brain immediately goes, prove them wrong. Show them that you're educated. Show them that you have money and you didn't steal that thing, or you weren't going to steal that thing off the counter. That's kind of the second way I navigate it, is to try to, whatever it is, I try to prove them wrong, or prove myself right, or that I belong here.
Yeah, love that. You say that you were an immigrant and here in the U.S. Was that during Trump's reign of presidency?
Yes, it was.
Holy
Yes,
moly.
it was. Yeah.
As a citizen, I was afraid to be in this country. I can only imagine being an immigrant during that time. How did you manage that?
It was a really scary time. I mean, 100% for all immigrants. And I'm sure if you interview different immigrants, everybody probably has their own story and how they navigated it. For me, I fully realized that in order for me to feel safe in this country, I needed to become a citizen, which was something that I never really put in the forefront of my mind. I graduated college in 2004, and I've been living in the US and working in the US for that entire time. I had my permanent residency ever since I graduated college. I started my company here as well. And so I just knew in my mind that in order for me to fully feel like I can feel safe, I can feel stable, my business won't suffer, I needed to become a citizen. And I did not want to become a citizen under his presidency at all. I was trying to push it and push it and push it. But when you're hearing about laws and countries being banned and things like that, it just made me so much more nervous. Even though in my brain, I was model citizen, model US, and not a citizen, but, I was model citizen, as they say, and doing all the things that I needed to do to just, be assimilated in the country. I still was very, very nervous because it was to me, it felt like every single day there was something new that was developing. Some country was being put on a list. I was watching for Sierra Leone because Sierra Leone has a very high Muslim population. I have lots of people in my family that are Muslim. I am not Muslim, but I have many uncles, cousins, nieces that are Muslim. And so because of that high percentage of the country being Muslim, I was consistently watching to see if that was on a list, because that would dictate everything I did. I wouldn't be able to leave the country for fear I wouldn't be able to come back. All of those things. I didn't know if he was just going to just turn crazy and collect all immigrants and put us on a boat back to somewhere. There was he was so unhinged that I had no idea. So I thought in my head at that time that the only way to make sure that I can be in this country and remain in this country and have my business still not be affected is for me to get my citizenship. And that's what I ended up doing, is getting my citizenship. But I know that my story is so different because there are a lot of other immigrants that are here that do own businesses and things like that, but just are not in the position to be able to apply for their citizenship and get their citizenship. So I can only imagine if that was my story.
Yeah, my best friend in high school waited almost 4 or 5 years until she was able to get her citizenship, and she applied when she was 18 and didn't get it until years later. But in that time of waiting for it, she was just so stressed out all the time, just and it made me think how did you reach self-preservation or self-care and center yourself during this time of waiting?
So I got my citizenship during COVID, which was just a whole nother situation. Yeah. Because of that, I think it actually helped because it was during COVID. So my brain was focusing on so many other things that it was I did my application. I did all the things I needed to do to get my citizenship process going. And then for me, I kind of just forgot about it a little bit because there were so many other things that were going on in the world, in my life. I had just started my company and then COVID hit. So I was focusing on how to get the company going. So that really helped me, just having so many other different situations and things happening. It really didn't allow me the time to fully focus or get stressed out about it. But if this was a different time, oh my gosh, I think I would probably wake up every day trying to check my email, see if I've gotten everything, call the offices, see if they've gotten my application. It just happened to be that the world was just focused on a lot of other things happening at that time. So it allowed my brain to also focus on those things and not 100% on, am I going to get my citizenship or not?
Yeah. Blessing in disguise, for sure.
Blessing in disguise. Oh my gosh, 100%.
Now that you're a citizen, how are you feeling about voting for your first time right now?
I'm so excited that I got to vote in this election. It's such a historic election, number one. I get to see somebody that I see myself in, having a part Black woman possibly represent me and me as an American citizen is huge. I really feel like my voice matters, and it's so important today to vote. So I'm just incredibly happy, and I feel a lot of privilege that I got to vote today.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful feeling. And it's wild because I like to say I live in a bubble in San Francisco, and everyone out here is very oh, Kamala's going to win. Kamala's got this in the bag. The same way they were the first time that Trump won. Everybody was like, oh, he's a joke. He's not going to win. He's going to lose by a landslide. And then when it happened, it was the whole city was in depression and that moment. Everyone was crying and it was crazy. And I don't know if San Diego is similar, like if there's any uncertainty, and if there is, like, how do you manage that?
As much as people are certain that Kamala's going to win, you're right. There is still a lot of uncertainty because we lived it a couple of years ago, but I really feel like the community has just bonded in a way that honestly, I'm like, there's no reason she can't win, but you're right. There is still that sense of uncertainty. And I think it's hope. That's what it is. I think a lot, at least for me, my sense of uncertainty is I nix that whenever I feel that sense of uncertainty by leaning into hope, into a lot of hope that us as the nation will not bring somebody back into office that has so clearly divided us for years and still continues to do so. Hope that the queer community is resilient and we are fighters and we are loud and we are all over the place doing what we can to make sure that the right person is the president and represents us. So to anybody out there, if you are really feeling that sense of uncertainty, lean into the hope that this is going to be the day, hopefully we all wake up and it's going to be the day that we just all celebrate this wonderful, wonderful new president that we have that's going to represent us in the best way possible.
Yes. I love the resiliency in your spirit, in your energy, and knowing like everything that you've been through from like, war in Sierra Leone to coming back here to then going back, and the hope and the resiliency in your spirit is so inspiring. And I just want to know, like, how do you stay in your resilience?
It's hard to be resilient. I will say for me, it's my support system. I have a great group of friends, of people at this point that I consider my family more than my friends that support me in every way I do. And sometimes that support looks and feels like a challenge, but you're laughing because you know what I mean, right? But it's true. I have this support system that they are not yes people to me. They challenge me if there's something that I am doing that they want to question. They feel they can question me about it. And it makes me question myself about it as well, So having that support system that also can challenge you makes you resilient. If your friends are out here like questioning everything you do, you kind of have to be resilient in order to answer to them or in order to prove something to them. So that support system is really, really what helps me stay resilient.
That's so real. I think some of the most supportive friends I have been the most challenging ones. The ones that like really make me grow, like sit me down on my ass and like, listen, this is wrong. You need to get it together or you need to fall apart. Either way, the way that I need to go through what I need to go through, like that support looks different in so many ways, but they don't let me off easy and enable me.
Yes. Yes. I don't think I have anyone in my support system that I would say enables me. They challenge me a lot. But I love that, because if you can't trust the people around you to call you out when you need to be called out, to hold you accountable when you need to be held accountable, it doesn't make you resilient. No. You don't have those challenges from the people that you love. And so that's really where it starts for me is really that group of people that I surround myself with.
Yeah. And would you say these like core people were there when you were going through your coming out?
Not all of them, but some of them, yes. And those people have seen me grow. They've seen me at my lowest point. They've helped me come up. And I think sometimes the ones that have helped me come up are the ones that are the hardest on me now, the ones that challenge me the most, the ones that hold me the most accountable because they've seen that journey and where I am and how I have had to be resilient at different stages in my life.
That's beautiful. It just makes me like smile, and I just got like flashes of like different faces of people that were like that for me.
Oh,
yeah.
That's great. I mean, everybody needs people like them, like that in their lives, you know?
Absolutely. I'm thinking about all of this, and I never actually asked you, how old were you when you came out with your family?
Ooh, I was 23 when I came out. It was about a year after I graduated college, and at the time I was living in Chicago. So yeah, 23.
Wow, how'd they take it?
Not well. Growing up in these different countries, your family's your family, right? Because you don't have your extended family with you. So I didn't grow up with cousins, aunts, things like that. It was just us. It was my brother, my sister, my mom and dad. That was it. And so because we moved to all these different countries all the time, you really form a very strong bond with your family. And I had a really strong bond with my family. So when I realized that the female forum was very exciting to me, I didn't even hesitate. I was immediately like, oh my gosh, this makes sense to me. I must let the people that love me the most know. And so I did. I came out to my parents immediately. And to my shock and my surprise, it was not well received. They really couldn't understand it at all. And the way that they chose to manifest them not understanding is cutting me off completely. Anyone who knew me back then 100% would tell you that the term African princess is me. Was I. That was coined because of Yinka Freeman. I was incredibly spoiled. And having to wake up one morning and not have anything really, not have a bank account, not have any sort of support, just nothing, was one of the most shocking things I've ever gone through. And so, yeah, they completely cut me off 100% on everything. And for months, probably 2 to 3 months, I had to really rely on the queer community that I had formed in Chicago. A lot of my friends that were queer were really supportive. And from the minute they found out they were always just like, whatever we need to do, we'll help you pay rent. We'll help you get groceries. We'll help you just kind of set up your life. We're not going to have you be a stat that so many of the queer community tends to be. And to this day, I credit all of my friends for just stepping up.
That's beautiful. And that's why chosen family is like so solid. The producer of this show, Leah, my best friend, she was one of those people that helped me through that rough exchange with family not accepting. How did you navigate this huge change, and like how are you navigating that today?
I mean, back then I really had no idea. Because I was, number one, so sure that my family was going to be supportive of this from the get-go. So it was dealing with a lot of shock and not understanding exactly what was going on. In my head, I couldn't understand why they wouldn't just accept me, and they would have preferred that I led a life that was a complete lie. So it took years for me to really come to it, and it wasn't even an understanding, because I still don't fully understand it, but I've accepted it. And it was really when I accepted my parents as just being humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, they're my parents, but they're also just humans, and they have to figure out how to navigate this. When I came to that acceptance, that's when I fully accepted not being a part of the family, and, you know, what happened, that I'm no longer a part of the family. I just accepted that 100%. What it's made me today. Whew, well, first of all, chosen family, like you said, that is a thing. I believe in that so much. I don't know how old I am. 42. I'm 42. And I have this beautiful chosen family that is not even all queer people. My best friends and her husband, they're my chosen family. I spend holidays with them. And it's just been this like beautiful collection of human beings that I've had the honor of having in my life. And I just find that so much more beautiful. So it's helped me fully understand what that means when people say my chosen family. As an adult, as a business owner, I, number one, don't even think I would probably have a business or be self-employed. I think I would have 100% just kept being on the coattails of my parents, basically. But knowing that I'm my number one, I'm my own support system, all of that, knowing all of that has really helped me focus myself, focus the company. Everything I do is very, very intentional now. And I really think having been disowned and having to figure out life and my adult life has really, really helped me navigate and figure out what kind of adult am I? What kind of adult do I want to be? And how do I want to show up for the world? Not just an individual person, but how do I just want to, how do I want people to see me, not knowing me fully? And I really feel that having that experience has helped me identify the type of person I am.
Nice. Beautifully said. When we were saying chosen family, a thought came to my mind that I don't know why I've never thought of this, because I was always thinking, oh, I choose them, but they also choose me. So I was like, that I have to share that.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. They do, they do choose you. There are so many people that could have just left and been like, oh, that's so sorry that this is happening to you. I hope you figure it out. But you're right. Those people were choosing me, and they were investing in me. And I feel like that's such an honor to have people see you and invest in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of investment, you've been talking a lot about this business that you started, and it was because of this really tough adversity that you had to go through that I think that you said that you started this business. What is this business that you keep talking about?
Well, so I have technically, I guess, two.
Okay.
Just trying to build my empire here. The first one is my event production company that I have. It's called Triple Pocket Events. And that's the one that started literally months before COVID hit. And so we do events all over, virtual, in person, hybrid, all over. And actually owning Triple Pocket led me to the next one, which is No Other Festival. It just really fell under my whole sphere of event production. But it's also a festival for the queer community, which I belong to. So it was such a passion project for me. And the passion project became a full-fledged business.
Nice.
I've always volunteered a lot of my time to the festival because of my experience with not having family, being disowned, and me knowing that there are so many others out there that have gone through this process. And, we could Google it and find out what the stat is of how many of us either don't make it or end up homeless or end up in really tragic situations. I knew that I needed to figure out a way that I could use my skills that I've developed over the years to find a way to give back to the community. The way that I know I can give back. Because for 4 days, I got to intentionally create a safe space for people to come to and just be themselves. And I know it's 4 days out of 365 days, but still, if I can help within those 4 days to show you that you are loved, that you are supported, that we have you, that we can be your chosen family for those short amount of time, then hell yes, I'm going to be a part of that. So really, that's why.
No other festival is such an intentional festival.
I knew that whoever stepped in had to have the same level of intentionality and also just know what the mission is. I fully believe in the mission of the festival. And I knew that whoever it is that took over had to have that mission in mind, that it is not about you. It is about creating space for our community. Because that's always been my intention. And that's really what led me to take over. I never wanted to own a festival. I never wanted to own an event of any kind. I'm so happy providing my services to others and creating beautiful, amazing events for them. Never did I want that to be me. But in the process of looking for someone to take over, we really just couldn't find anyone that really had the festival's missions and its goals in mind. And the universe literally just said to me, girl, stop playing around. Stop playing around and get this festival going. And it was a weekend that the universe just kept putting signs in my face. And finally on Monday, I was like, all right, well, I think another magical force is really trying to fight against my brain. So let's just go ahead and do this.
Nice.
So then I did.
Has there been any adjustments now that you're the face and the voice that you've had to work with?
So much. I am such a background person. I love to be in the background. I think that's what makes me really good, actually, at being an event producer. Is I am so fine with being in the background and making things work. And now having to be in the forefront of everything is just shocking to my brain. But also I, own Triple Pocket by myself for a very, very long time. And now in this position, in this role, I am the lead. Everyone comes to me, the volunteers come to me, all of our leads come to me. Having to make that decision fully on my own sometimes can be incredibly challenging. And I'm very much a person who loves to collaborate. I work in a very collaborative fashion. And so I try to incorporate that still, but at the end of the day, I'm still the decision maker. So having to be the decision maker for every single aspect of a festival is insane. It is insane. And then there's a lot more eyes on me now from everyone, not only our volunteers and our team leads, but the attendees, our sponsors. There's just so many more eyes on me that I don't think I fully understood either taking over, but now I'm fully understanding it. fully understanding it.
It's such a huge undertaking, and I love what you said of it's bigger than you. basically, is like kind of what you were saying. And we threw an event, very, very tiny event. And our community, you know, they're very strong with their opinions. I was just like thinking a massive event on that scale. I was like, I'm sure you're getting a lot of opinions thrown your way, and also trying to organize. I'm just like, I don't know how you do it.
It takes, you know, it really takes a lot. It takes a lot of work to get that. But I personally believe that because a lot of what I do, I always have the mindset of the community in mind, the this is bigger than me mindset. And that really helps me just handle the day-to-day decisions or just things that come up. It really does help me because at the end of the day, I want to get to the festival and I want to see, and I've been calling them my attendees. And someone asked me why I call them my attendees. And I'm like, because they're mine. I'm possessive like that. They are mine. I want my attendees to just get on site and not see any of the back end, any of the frustrations, any of the little gritty that I know you know about planning an event. I don't want them to see that. I just want them to get on there and get on site and just breathe. Just breathe and just be like, I'm here and home for a few days.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful because, you know, when you see the background of stuff, sometimes that can be really messy and it can really change the whole experience.
Yes. Yes. Putting on events is one of the most chaotic things that can happen.
Yeah. The little tiny one that we did for Oakland Pride, we did like one little event and I was just kind of like drained on trying to manage the opinions of different people towards different things. And it was just like one after the other, like new thing coming up that I had to, with the team, navigate through on how to respond in like a supportive, but also firm, but also kind of like boundary setting all at the same moment and keeping it professional.
Yep. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, like, how are you feeling with the whole like standing up for Palestine?
So this is something that I've got a lot of ask recently about the festival taking a stance on the conflict. I went back and forth a lot on whether the festival should actually, not myself personally as Yinka, but the festival should put a statement out or, you know, take any sort of stance. And I had to come back to what was the mission of the festival, what our principles are, and really base it on that. I had to completely take my personal thoughts and feelings out of it because I realized that while I might have my personal, I also, if I were to speak on behalf of the festival, I'm speaking on behalf of all of our volunteers, our leads, our attendees, our sponsors, right? There's so many other facets of the festival that I would be speaking on behalf of. And I just took a moment to just really think about how I can respond and what I can say. And I just focused on the mission of the festival. We are here to create a safe space for everyone that comes into the festival. The year of planning that we do for the festival is all focused on the safe space that we're creating. And when I thought about that, and I thought about how as a non-political organization, how can we support? And so many of our queer families activism runs in our, I mean, us as queers, activism just runs in our blood, right? We are consistently fighting for ourselves. We're consistently fighting for our brothers and sisters, our she, our he, our theys, you know, consistently fighting for that. And I, as a queer woman, recognize that my privilege is that I am a cis woman. That's my privilege. And that is my privilege in the queer community. And so I was thinking, oh my gosh, okay, I'm a cis woman, but we have trans people and we have non-binary and everyone's an activist and everyone's trying to fight a good fight, not just for our queer community, but for the world in general. And I thought, okay,
no other festival
can be this space where all these people who are out there marching in the streets, sending emails, making those phone calls, let's have this festival be the chance for these people to come and once again, breathe, feel supported, re-energize yourself so that you can go back out there and fight the good fight and be the activist that you are. And so that is the stance of the festival, is that we are creating this space for you, our beautiful activism brothers and sisters, non-binary, trans folks. We're creating this space for you to come for a couple of days and be in community that loves you, that accepts you, that wants you to go back out there and fight that good fight for those of us that cannot. But for this weekend, just take the time to reset yourself so that you can have the energy to go back out there. And that's the stance that the festival is taking. We're just creating this space for you to come and be you and say the things that you want to say and do the things that you want to do for the world and for our community. But let us just create this space for you. I think a lot of things that a lot of people don't realize how much being an activist can take away from you personally, because you are so focused on the mission that you are not taking the time for yourself. Self-care doesn't exist in activism work. But what we can do is provide this space for you to have self-care so you can take care of yourself. That way you have all of the strength and all of the energy to go back out there and fight that good fight.
Well said. Well said. I love how you explain that, and just taking that moment to breathe in a neutral space that's just full of support and love. And that's really well said. And
thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And it got me thinking, like, you are busy. And you're talking about recharging, breathing, self-care. What are some routines or practices that you do for yourself in terms of self-care?
You know, I am not going to lie. I am busy. And sometimes I fully see and I realize you are not creating any space for yourself. You are not doing anything. So one of the things that I fell in love with during COVID, and I still do it to this day, and I schedule it, I put it in my calendar, is I do cryotherapy. So I walk in a freezing tank, my whole body, and I put myself in there for like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And I have headphones and I put on either some like bumping country music, because I love country music, or I put on some like EDM in my headphones, and I like in this chamber, and I just kind of dance it out for 4 minutes and 30 seconds, freeze my butt off, and then come out. And I feel so energized afterwards and so stress-free. So I try to do cryo at least 2 to 3 times a week if I can. Yeah, and it's really, really helped me. And another thing that I just do is I surround myself with a really strong, really diverse support system. And it's just people that I know I can just be 100% vulnerable with. and they're not going to judge. They're going to listen. They're going to try to give me advice. But these are people that I can just go to and just be like, listen, I'm going to say something. I don't need you to give me any advice. I literally just want you to hear me just ramble or rant, and I'll be okay. And I have those people where I can and just go off and drop all the M-bombs and the B's and all the words. And they just listen to me just so I can get it out. And then I'm done. Or I'm like, I really need you to give me advice. So I've gotten really good at just surrounding myself with those type of people that I tell people will really just let me see my crazy, whether it's good crazy or bad crazy. They'll just let my crazy come out. So those are the two main things that I do for self-care.
That's awesome. I mean that support system with friends where you can be 100% unfiltered and just let it go, let it rip. Like those are some solid folks.
Yeah.
And I can relate with that. But this cryotherapy, I definitely need to give that a try.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
It's like a
wonderful.
cold plunge without a cold plunge.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Cold plunges can be very refreshing. Cold is a mofo, but a little chamber. That's awesome.
I really find that my brain concentrates so much on being cold that it kind of puts everything that is in the forefront of my mind just back, at least for a couple of minutes. And when you step out, at least to me, my brain has this thought of like, oh, it's really not that bad. You can handle this. Like whatever it is, you can handle it. Like the fact that I can push it in the back of my mind for a couple of minutes and step back out, it always just resets it. Like it's not that deep. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of science out there of like cold temperatures, like extreme cold temperatures, putting your body in that and being able to like breathe through it and just like go through it. It also helps you like manage your own anxiety and trains you on how to like think in your brain and how to be more in control and not spiral.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. We have one last question for you.
Okay.
If you could describe radical acceptance in one word, phrase, or mantra, what would it be?
Accepting yourself wholeheartedly. I want to go more into it.
Do it.
But you said
Do it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. So what that means, at least to me, is it really focuses on a lot of the work that I have had to do in, I'm going to say probably the last 10-ish years between my 30s and my 40s, really accepting the things about me that I can't control that immediately makes me stand out. Accepting the fact that I am Black, that I am a woman, that I am queer, that I'm in my 40s, all of that, accepting that and spinning it in my mind that it is this beautiful coat of armor that I wear. My coat of armor is that I am queer, that I am Black, that I am a woman, that I am in my 40s. You know, all of that, I kind of just wear it and I own it. And every time I step into the world, instead of being like, oh, I'm a woman, oh, I'm Black. No, I step out of my apartment or wherever I am. When I step into a room, I'm fully embracing I'm a woman, I'm Black, I'm queer, I'm in my 40s, watch me. And that's how I step into spaces. And that has allowed me this radical acceptance of who I am and loving that and not wanting any of that to change ever.
Yes. I love that. Thank you. And thank you for being here with us. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been such a treat.
Thank you. It has been good. Thank you. I appreciate being on here too. So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. We were waiting for the day. We were waiting for the day. I still remember it. Poolside, letting you know, update on Melissa, and we were like, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen.
I was excited for it.
Yeah. So how can people find you on socials?
My personal social is Yinka. So it's my first name, Yinka, and my middle name, Genevieve, Genevieve. That's my personal. So Yinka Genevieve. You can also follow the two businesses. So it's at Triple Pocket Events, or
At No Other Festival is our Instagram handle. It's KNOWOTHERFESTIVAL.
Nice. Do you have any shout outs before we close this out?
Ooh, shout out. I would like to, I don't know any of you, but I would like to just shout out anybody that is in our queer community, that is just in it for the community. I'm shouting you all out because there's so many of us out there and we don't shout each other out.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you. Tap that follow button, give us a 5-star rating and review, and hey, your review might end up on the show. This podcast is organically grown by Rafaela Landestoy, Leah Jackson, and myself, V. Vasquez. Editor and sound designer, Leah Jackson of Puka Puka Creative. Original music produced by Basque. His music is amazing. And emotional support by our fur babies, Nugget and Pukalani.